Hi and welcome to the second part of the DayZ guide I'm running, covering tips like this. So zombies spawn in if you get within 300 meters of them, and they spawn out when you go outside of that. Using this information you can actually tell whether there are any players in the area. This guide's going to cover intermediate and possibly a few expert tips from someone that's played DayZ for 13,000 hours. We're just in Cherno and looking at leaving to go north, I think we are. Just going to the fire station first to check some stuff out. Basically for some better insulation clothing and a fire axe if that's the sort of thing you want to go for a melee weapon. They're ruined, so definitely not worth having. These firefighter pants, best insulation, definitely gonna check those out for our journey up north. So one thing that's worth noting is the 1.26 update that's coming. Well, it'll be on experimental right now. They've made changes to the carriage capacity for all this stuff. You won't have 30, it'll be something like 12 or maybe 16. Considerable drop off in the amount that you'll be able to carry stuff. So it's something that you need to be aware of. There's a little trick that you need to know. You can either go prone at these things and try and roll through them. If you run at them full tilt and hold C, you sort of phase through the wall. It's a lot quicker. Alright, as I was saying, we're gonna leave the mighty Cherno behind. We've got enough stuff for travelling north. We know that north's this way because we found that out earlier. If you don't know how to do that, check the first guide out and pick this back up in a moment. Deer stands. These are one of your key loot objectives. Got hunting loot in these, or have the potential to have hunting loot. What we got in this one? It's a disappointment. We've got a heat pack. I think we've got space to take it, so we'll take it. Let's show you this. You can slide down these ladders. Right, there we go. I wanted that to happen so I could show you. If you slide down a ladder without gloves on, then you can get a bleed, and that is a bleed that you need to fix. Getting low on bandages. If you don't fix that bleed, it can lead to a blood disorder, and it's actually one of the nastiest diseases in DayZ. You can die from it very quickly. So make sure you always fix your bleeds when you get them, if you've got the chance to, with properly disinfected rags, and I haven't actually got any. So I need to get some disinfectant to sort these out, or find myself some new rags. This size of deer stand you can actually jump off, but if you've got a large ladder, you can, if you've got some gloves on, you can slide down them safely. It will do damage to the gloves over time. So because we worked out that the sea is that way, and we know that that's south because we spawned in this way facing north, we've come to the edge of the town where we're leaving Cherno. Leaving Cherno behind. Goodbye, they've treated us well, Cherno. We're going to head up all roads, big roads like this, the concrete type roads, will lead somewhere decent. And so will power lines. Essentially the bigger power lines lead to power generators or major cities. We've got up here a little military base, so I think we're going to tackle this. So a couple of ways of thinking of going in about this military base. Could use the crossbow and make things ever so easy. The military zombies have more HP. Wow, that was a good shot. The military zombie. Oh no, things have gone wrong. They're chasing the bolt. They're chasing the sound. And now this one will aggro on me. Yeah, the military zombies have got more HP, so they're going to take longer to get them down with a melee weapon. When you've got these zombies at a military base, you can actually get up on these sandbag walls quite easily. And then you can just... When they get near... Shut up. When they get near to you, you can start cheesing them. They'll sometimes climb over, but they'll never climb on. So you're perfectly safe here. Safe from the zombies, I'll hasten to add, because you're very much an easy target for another player. You see there, they were taking longer to kill than a standard zombie. Is there a Humvee? No Humvee here. Yeah, you can see those power lines, the main power lines that are coming in, just there. They're coming into a power station just there, which you'll see on the edges of most of the major cities. So if you see any of those and you follow them, there's a very good chance you'll get to somewhere populated if you're a little bit confused as to where to run. But I know that way's north because I do, and also we found that out earlier. So we're going to run this way and pick it back up in a little moment or two. You don't have to stick to the roads, no. Just because you know this road leads to somewhere decent, there's nothing to stop you running here whilst also keeping an eye on the road. Makes much more sense to be in the undergrowth and in the cover than it does to run down wide open roads. When we get into the next town, I'm actually going to point out some of the more lucrative buildings to loot. Now, this is one of them. You can get hunting gear inside this building, so it's worth checking out. You can sometimes get scopes, rifles, all the hunting stuff that you would expect. Nice clothing, camo clothing. All the good stuff. Let's have a look in here. Usually under the stairs is where the rifle spawns. A pair of padded gloves. They're damaged. We'll take them. They're badly damaged. We'll take them and I'll fix them up in a bit. Check behind the door. There's possible loot spawn there and on this table. This dresser. Right, I'm going to push on to the next spot. Right, I'm going to go back and have a look at that town in a minute, and I'm going to pick out some nice buildings for you. But there's a deer stand here. I'm just going to check this out. What have we got? New pair of panties and a rangefinder. Right, both of those are really, really useful. I'm going to sort through this inventory of mine soon. So, rangefinder in hands, a battery into the rangefinder. We'll use that in a little bit. Put that on number 4. I didn't actually say which button it was to slide down. It's left shift whilst holding down. It allows you to slide down the ladder. Right, we should probably... I haven't got binoculars, but I've got this rangefinder, so we can have a look into the town best we can. Always worth checking out town from the hillside nearby. That's why binoculars, scopes, rangefinders, so critical to your survival and your scouting potential. One battery should be plenty for a rangefinder. If you're seeing 3 zeros on those red markings, it's because you're getting a false reading because you're in a bush or something that's causing a problem. Just step forward a little bit out of the bush and then it'll be fine. Looking pretty clear. Let's have a run down there. Right, this is the first building that I want to show you. The store, or as we call it, the Mongo store. I don't quite know how it got that name, but it did. Hunting gear aplenty in here. Yeah, these stores are definitely worth checking out. You often see flags in them. If you go into one which is in a high traffic area, very unlikely to find anything, but it's worth checking them out. Most people know about them now, but yeah, check those ones out. When I'm looting, initially I'll loot everything, every house. I'll even go on top of the little kiosks because they can have guns spawning on them. So anyway, back to the houses that I like to loot. If they're a single house like this, single story, very quick and efficient looting time. Straight in, loot space there, sometimes on the fridge, on the chairs or on the table, on top of the cooker. Have a look in here, open the vicinity if you wish, make sure you don't miss anything, and you're out. That's the sort of house that's more or less perfect. This house is another good example of being a good house to loot. Straight in, down here, vicinity search, across here, out the other door, you're done. Here's an example of a house that's not particularly good to loot. I would often bypass this house completely. Let me show you why. You go in here, potential loot inside here on the door, and you've got a whole room in here you have to search through. Then you've got to go through here. There's possibly loot there, on here, on there. Then you're going to come back out. I think there may be loot on there. Could be wrong. And then you've got to go upstairs, loot this side, loot that side. Not a very efficient house to loot. How about this hidden loot spot that not everyone knows about? Here we go. These big orange brick houses. Most people would just loot inside there and be gone, but you can actually go up here and loot spawns just there. Top up of water maybe? Have I got a container? Yeah. I don't recall where this water came from. And if you're unsure, just get rid of it. Empty it out. I wouldn't recommend using wells unless you have to. Because the position of them inside of towns and villages, they've been switched around to make them so that they're very much... You're very much an easy target. And I've actually got water tabs, so I didn't need to use this. I could have gone elsewhere. And when I say I could have gone elsewhere, I could fill the water up there. I could fill the water up at a stream. I mean, it really does depend on how you want to play the game and what you want to do. 35 slot bag there, I've ruined it. I shot him in the face and I've ruined his bag. Some people can't go past the house without going into it. But if you want to be efficient, certain houses just ignore. Often it involves them being on 2 stories. That one's a bit of a pain to loot as well. So we've been loosely following these power lines, and it's going to take us ultimately to a big city. There's the Green Mountain Tower there. We could go and have a look up there, I suppose. Although I find it often a little disappointing. There's also a convoy spawn possible up there. I've just been to check it, and there wasn't a convoy there. And I think with convoys, I once spent 2 full streams, so I don't know, 10 hours running around going specifically from convoy to convoy to try and find how often they would spawn and whether or not it was worth actually doing it. And I didn't find any. And then there could be another time that I would run just a single stream and would stumble across 3 convoys. The bottom line, I think, with convoys and heli crashes is bring them in on your normal loot route when you get confident with the map and you know where you're going. Like, you know there's a convoy possible spawn of a convoy off that track over there, and you want to run this way, just veer off slightly and check it out, and then come back onto your path and away you go. Right, I'm going to follow these power lines down and see whereabouts it takes us. Now, the power lines didn't take us here, but it was something that I thought of. As I was running along the power lines, I thought, well, I should show you these. Now, I've done a couple of videos on loot routes that bring in a lot of these compounds with shivering. What's the point of shivering? When you've got a heat pack, left click, access it, put it back in your pants or in your jacket, not in your backpack, because it won't work there. Right, what was I doing? I really should sort some of my inventory out, you know. That's one thing I am pretty bad at, is inventory management. Could be sending some of you lot wild, seeing my inventory as it is. But anyhow, I've done it. I'll link the video down below for the loot routes that I do. These feature quite heavily in them because they are really good. These particular buildings, the chalets that you find at the summer camps. This is one of the smaller summer camps on Chernogorsk. We'll have a quick run through, see what we find. So what you're likely to find is hunting gear. I actually picked up some binoculars a little bit earlier, so we're okay for those. And you know, one thing I like to say about these places is if you see one with a door closed and all the other doors are open, these randomise on a server restart, these doors do. But always be a little bit careful, because if you find a door that's closed, there might be a good reason for it. And there is a pretty good reason. If I stand on that, it's going to break my leg, and I don't want that. What you can do to get rid of it is get a long stick. There's actually a whole host of things that you can disarm a bear trap with, but usually the easiest thing is to get a long stick, and it might not be the best place to get a long stick, but I'm going to do it. Yeah, so this long stick will disarm them. All the things that you see on the screen now will also disarm them. As I say, this is the best thing I find. Now, what I was going to say is when you approach a building like this, it's not necessarily going to be in a place that's so obvious. You could possibly put it inside that step and hide it a little bit. But if you inventory search, you'll see the bear trap and you'll see that it's open. Here. It's often worth just flicking up your inventory. You'll also pick up any tripwires that might be in place as well. Choice is yours what to do with the bear trap. I tend to throw them away into the water. Into the water. Alright, okay. Now, as far as bear traps go, you know, like, people are lazy. They find a bear trap in one of these chalets and they just place it at the doorway. Be mindful that that's not always the case. Some people, I've got caught on a bear trap just here before. If you want to lay a bear trap, just put it somewhere that's not quite so obvious. If you want to be mean, as I say, I don't use them unless I'm going to watch it. I don't tend to use them. So the bear trap will last 7 days on a server unless you disarm it or run into it. So that's a lot of time for someone to find it on a populated server. See, I'm running the edge of this tree line here. We're actually heading towards Chernogorsk. If we'd have followed those, carried on following those power lines, we would have eventually got there. Those power lines came in across there and bring us into the major city, which is just there. I like to stop off just somewhere around here and have a quick look in. Visibility's not great, is it? Let's hope for a magical improvement in the weather as we get further along. Who knows, eh? Not much to see though. Let's push on. Here we go. There's Chernogorsk. I have a nice little spot where I like to stop right by this pine tree. So underrated, the use of binoculars. The information that you can get from overwatching a town is absolutely amazing. And people don't really... There's the power lines that I was talking about. That was following all the way before. They come all the way into the back end of this town, into this city. Right the way down there into a power station that we can't quite see. It's just the other side there. And there's a military zone down here as well. People sometimes camp the top of that building on the right and the top of the fire station. Both get a great view from here. What we're kind of looking for are zombie spawns. And I'm not seeing any. So it should tell me that no one's in that city. So how do the zombies work? Well, I think the best thing to do is to bring out the rangefinder for this. That zombie's 100 meters away. I know I've spawned that one. That zombie is 361 meters away, which is very close to being possibly somebody else's. So all these zombies are mine, and how do I know that? Well, the server files, the game files actually say that in vanilla, the zombie will spawn at 300 meters when a player comes into within 300 meters of it. But it doesn't mean 300 meters of the actual zombie, because this zombie is 360. It means into 300 meters of this zombie's spawn radius, which could be all the way around here. Various different sizes for zombie spawn radiuses. One thing is for sure, it will never be more than 400 meters. If you see a zombie at 400 meters, it is not yours. That's the way to look at it. Oh, we're approaching Zelly from the west. I've actually been down the bottom there and sat in that tree for about 15 minutes, and what has happened is that there's loads of mushrooms spawned. I mean loads. If you ever see this quantity of mushrooms, then they're not yours, unless you've been static. You will spawn one or two. There will be someone sat very close by. Don't know the exact radius, but if you see multiple mushrooms, multiple apples, multiple stones on a track, then someone has basically AFK'd there, or are sat somewhere like this, overwatching this military base. And we're here for a reason, because if I zoom into here, zombies would normally spawn inside this compound here. But there are no zombies. So that tells me something. That tells me that there's no one within 300 meters, or 400 meters, of that wall that runs across the outside of the compound. Because if I move forward just a little bit to here, look at all the pairs, and we'll see the zombies spawn in a second. One spawned in just there. I don't know if we caught that or not, but they're spawning in off me, because I've moved inside the network bubble that activates them. So if I move back to my original spot, up here, and sit inside this tree, hopefully we'll be able to see them, watch them for a little bit, and then they'll disappear. It depends on how well the server's performing as to how long it takes before they'll ping out, but it shouldn't take any more than 30 seconds to a minute. There we go, and out they go. And that's a way of telling whether or not there are players inside an area. You can do that on anywhere that you can get 400 meters away from zombies. Let's take to the skies and see if I can make this a little bit easier for you to understand. That's me in the trees up there, 301 meters away from the zombie spawn radius. As soon as I step to 300 meters, it pops the zombies in. But it could be anywhere inside this circle, and zombies, they tend to roam a little bit, as we know. So the net take from this is if you see a zombie at 400 meters away, it's not yours. This rule doesn't apply to military, crash site, convoy, or police zombies. You can have static zombies that spawn in at military compounds, such as Chernogorsk here that we're looking at, Tizzy, Northwest Airfield, Mishkino, VMC, Kamensk. They have static zombies that spawn at server start, and you could be sat there watching them thinking, well, I'm 600 meters away. There must be someone there. No, they'll always be there. Zombies get into a post-aggro state. There you go, you can see him there. Let's have a closer look at him if we can. There you go, arms out. It means they've been aggroed, but they've lost their target. Usually means on a player, so if you see zombies that are in this state where they put their arms out, it means a player has been in the vicinity pretty recently. I mean, they can do it off the back of animals as well, but you get used to seeing them like that because they don't stay like it for very long. Probably about 10-15 minutes, they reset back to their normal state. Just something to keep your eye on when you're looking into a town of infected. Keeping with the zombie theme, let's kill a few, because often you will walk into a town and you'll find dead zombies. And the question is, in your own mind, how long have they been there? Well, there's a couple of factors here. If someone's within 100 to 150 meters, the zombies won't despawn. But after 6 minutes, if no one's in that area, the zombies will just disappear. So it's 6 minutes that the zombies will stay on the floor without anyone in the vicinity. See, I got a bit sidetracked by the wolves there. They came up to the rocks I was on. And there's a way of getting rid of them without shooting them. You can throw meat at them and they'll go chasing the bits of meat. It's only a temporary fix. They'll stay entertained with that for a little while and then they'll come charging back after you. So you kind of need to deal with them anyway. But yeah, in a pinch, if you've got nothing else, chuck some meat at them. Another thing of note is that wolves can de-aggro off you onto someone else. So you might hear the howls and then never see the wolves. It could be that the wolves have gone on to another person. Also, another little thing you don't often get to see is them feasting on dead animals. This thing is actually quite difficult to pull off, to be able to put a dead animal between you and the wolf so that they go onto that instead, but still pretty cool to see. Now we've come to the Northwest Airfield in search of a very specific zombie to show you. The captain, just there. He has a radius of 150 meters. Aggro, when he screams, every zombie within 150 meters will come hurtling to his aid, to his general assistance. So let's test it out. There he goes. I mean, I've already got most of them coming my way anyway. So, you really don't want to annoy that zombie. Of course, what you can do is throw a grenade at him. I mean, I don't suggest you do this. It's a pretty silly idea, really, but let's give it a try. Holy shit. Well, that worked anyway. About done with zombies now, but I am going to flip back to Zelly. When you're at military zones, loot fast, loot smart. Make sure your inventory's clear, you're not going in there with no space. Get in there, get out quick. I think it's worth, when you're looting these containers, is to give the door a good shut when you go in. Be careful of those towers up there, though. I like to sit on those and shoot people that are in these containers. And it annoys the hell out of me when they close the doors. Make sure to check the Humvees all the way around. Also in the backs and on the very top, you can have loot spawn up here and you can't see it from vicinity. There's various scopes that actually get rid of the rain in the scope's view. The ACOG, both types of ACOG, remove the rain completely, as you can see here. The PSO scope, that will also remove the rain, and so will the PU scope. The binoculars and the long-range hunting scope do not. It might seem like the screwdriver is just a stabby thing, but you can actually use this tool to secure radiators and batteries onto vehicles. Obviously you'll need the same tool to remove them should someone have already secured those items. With the changeable weather in DayZ, you often find yourself and your clothing completely soaked. And one way to actually sort this out is to use a long stick with some rags attached to it to make a torch. Once you've got this lit, you just hold it in your hands and within about a minute everything will be dry. I don't know if this is supposed to be the case, but it's the quickest way of drying up. Leaning and moving can be quite difficult in DayZ, but if you switch Q and E around so that Q becomes your right hand lean, you can still move with pressing D. E becomes your left hand lean and you can move by pressing A. The fingers don't get in the way of each other. It's ever so handy. For this one, you might have to turn the volume up a bit. If you're on the very edge on the stone piece of this greenhouse, it classes you as being inside, and it removes all external noises, so the rain, the wind, and then if there's someone happens to be eating in the house right close, you can hear them. But when you move back out into the normal environment, you can't. Same with the weapon switches. Any sounds that a player may make. Can have a quick listen here. Now this last one might be a bit niche, might need a group of you, needs some patience, needs the perfect setup. But if you go to throw a helmet, it'll actually place it up in the air in your right hand. And if you can get positioned into a good spot like this, when someone's looking in, it looks like someone's head's peeking over the edge of this battlement of the castle. And of course, if you shoot it and then move down quickly, it looks like you've killed the person. It's the same setup on the top of this building and on this shed. You could do it on top of any of V-shaped roofs, really.
Right, I'm going to shoot it.
But it's very situational, and I'd like to see someone be able to pull this off. Thank you very much to Molly for helping me out with that little bit there at the end. And thank you very much for watching the video. Hope it's been of some use. If so, leave a message down the bottom, a little comment, like the video, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you on the next one.